you're here. You're watching a video on how to use a metronome. That means you are already way beyond most piano players, most instrumentalists on any instrument for that matter. Most people hate the metronome, but it's like crazy important. You play piano. You're a pianist. You are part of the rhythm section of whatever band you're in. You're part of the group, the small group of people who are responsible for making sure that there is a nice spine of consistent rhythm that runs through the whole song. Regardless of how crazy the rhythms get, you're going to be there holding down that rhythm, making sure that it's not speeding up, it's not slowing down, that it's all consistent. And if you're like, well, I like to play piano by myself, I don't really play with other people, then you're the whole frickin' rhythm section yourself. There's no one else who's taking care of that. You can't like rely on the drummer to have a good sense of rhythm or something like that. You're on your own. You are the rhythm section. You're all the sections. So this is crazy, crazy important. I say all of that because, like I said, the metronome is while it can be your best friend, it is most instrumentalists' worst enemy. Most of my students, when I'm like, let's try that with a metronome, they're like, so you might find out why here and learn to hate it as I teach you how. That's terrible. I shouldn't do that. But maybe you'll grow to love it. Let's dive right in. First thing you need to know is that all metronomes across the world, universe, for all I know, all use beats per minute. It's a standard setting. So if you got your metronome set at 120, you can go to China tomorrow and set a metronome to 120. It's going to be exactly the same. 120 sounds like this. So that's 120 clicks per minute, beats per minute, which means it's exactly 2 every second. So 60 beats per minute would be exactly 1 every second. So that might help you, like if you're listening to a song, you're trying to figure out like where that's going to be on your metronome, compare that to like what a second would be, right? So then if you can count off seconds and you're like, well, yeah, this is about twice as fast as a second, then it's going to be at about 120 beats per minute. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's what the numbers are all about on a metronome. Now, you can go out and buy like an expensive, $80 metronome that, clicks back and forth, is made of solid oak or something like that. I don't know. But there's all kinds of free apps. The one that I use is $1.99. Maybe by the time you're watching this video, this app doesn't even exist anymore. So the stuff that I'm talking about is all general to all metronomes. You don't have to use the same metronome that I'm using. This is just the least annoying sound that I've found. There's one built into my piano here that sounds like this, and that just drives me crazy. So anyway, that's why I'm using this one. But like I said, don't pay too much money for one. You can find them anywhere. You can find them online for free. So that's how you set the numbers, is just go up or down until it's at the number that you want. Now, I will say that you should start at a speed, whatever you're practicing, start at a crazy, crazy slow speed. And I can't emphasize this enough. You want to practice everything really, really slow and make sure it's nice and smooth. That's the whole point of the metronome, is to smooth this stuff out. So if you're not using the metronome to make everything nice and even, then there's really no point in using the metronome. So start out always at a crazy, crazy slow speed until you can play the entire passage that you're working on at whatever one nice, consistent, solid speed. Then taking that nice, slow, solid, even sounding phrase and speeding it up will be much, much easier than like actually learning it at that crazy slow pace. Getting that first time nice and smooth is always the biggest challenge. Speeding it up, not a problem. Especially if you got a metronome, you know how to use it. That's not going to be a problem at all. So while you're playing, though, you'll want to make sure that you count out loud as you're going. So let's say your passage is 1 and 2 and 3 and like that. And that's the thing that you're trying to do. So, we'd slow our metronome way, way down. So we'd go like 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So you want to make sure every single beat is exactly right on. So 1 and 2 and 3 and not quite. 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? So then once I have that, and I can count it out loud, then I can speed it up from there, isn't a problem at all. That was about 110 or so right there. So anyway, you want to make sure you count out loud, that you're setting the numbers to a really nice, slow, even pace. But remember, the whole point of the metronome is like listening to it. That's the most going to be the most important part. I got a lot of students who, especially as they're starting out learning how to use the metronome, you know, they'll turn it on. They got their phrase they're trying to work on. They'll be like 1 and 2 and 3 and like. There's no point in having the metronome on. The whole point is this thing is more important than you are. It's the one setting the tempo, right? So you got to slow it down, but you got to listen to it as well and make sure that you're lined up with it perfectly as you go. And one of the major helps in doing that is going to be if you listen to it first instead of just jumping in and playing. So even if you start out with it, you're going, right? If you just like try to start over again, if you mess up, you know, you get, I mean, like you can't just jump right back into the same phrase. You got to, once you mess up, so you got to listen to it for a little bit, so you make sure you're back and lined up with it, and then you can start off after that. Because, like I said, the listening to the metronome is really the most important part. It seems obvious. Once you get into it, you might find it a little bit more difficult and find out that it takes more effort to listen to it than you were expecting. Now, when you're wanting to go really, really slow or you're wanting to go really, really fast, there's this thing that helps out called subdividing. So basically, it's where you set your metronome to not just be on beats 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So for example, if I was doing that same phrase, you know, and I wanted to practice it, let's say 50, right? And so that's where I was wanting to do it. And I wanted to practice my phrase at, but there's so much space between each of the beats, like it's hard for me to tell where each of those notes are supposed to go. Right? So what I can do is, if I know that about 50 is where I need to be practicing this phrase, then I can set my metronome to be 100, and that way it is actually playing all of my 1 and 2 and 3 and instead of just the 1, 2, 3, 4. So now this right here is 100, which is exactly twice of 50, and now it's actually counting 50 for me just with a beat in between. So now I can listen and go. And it'll keep me on track. So that's how you use it if you want to go really, really slow. Now, if you want to go really, really fast on the other end, you know, what you'll usually find is, you know, you're practicing and then your metronome will only go up to like 200 or 240 or 300, and you're wanting to practice this thing up to like 350, 400, crazy fast speeds. You do the same thing. You're just gonna, you know, once you get to the top of your metronome, you're just gonna cut that number in half and count twice as fast. Just know that it's counting every other beat for you. Then you can practice that all the way up to the top of your metronome, cut that in half, and now it's counting, instead of every 2 beats, it's counting every 4 beats for you. So subdividing helps a whole lot in really slow and really fast counting. Now, depending on the metronome that you have, you may have some really fancy features. A lot of them, especially the ones that are built into a piano, will automatically have like some special sound at the beginning of each measure. So for example, mine, on my piano, dings every 4 beats. So it would be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I find that annoying on the app that I'm using. I just turn off the special sound. But on here, it would sound like this. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 2. So if you hear like some special sound or something, that's what it's trying to tell you where beat 1 is. Now, you can also on some metronomes change what the time signature is. So you may have some special sound, but it sounds like this. Right? So when you set it to be, you know, only a set of 3, when you set the number to be 3 instead of 4, then it'll do that every 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so anyway, so you can set it up to do different numbers. Like I said, I usually just set mine to be all the same all the way through, and then I get to decide then where beat 1 is. It's whenever I'm ready for it instead of whenever it tells me that it wants to go for beat 1. And then also a lot of your metronomes nowadays will have subdivisions automatically in them. So you can, for example, have something in 4. I'll go ahead and give you the special sound there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can turn on the subdivisions and get same exact tempo, only now with all the subdivisions. Maybe throw in some extra, like the triplets in here, or the 16th notes. So anyway, you might have some subdivisions in there that you can actually just do those in your head if you want. But that's how to use a metronome. That's why to use your metronome. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're going to be practicing with this, you're going to be way ahead of most instrumentalists. So way to go already. You know how to use it. You got your metronome set up. I guess it's time to practice. So good luck. Have fun.